They tried to fit 3 freaking books into one TV show. Why? It's a TV show, guys. You didn't have to do that. You literally could have just made it into a series, and each of them could have had their own season, and each of them could have been so good in their own right. And I get there was points, and I just, okay, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to calm down. Oh my gosh, you guys. This was a letdown. I'm not going to lie. I was so excited to watch this show. Shadow and Bone, literally, I had no idea what it was until the first season of the TV show came out. Now, when that show came out, I'm going to tell you guys, I was so freaking obsessed with this show that I read all the books. I was like, I cannot get enough of these characters. I love the plot. I love the storyline. I love the intricate way that every time I watched it, I found out and learned something new about each character. It was so good. And then literally, this season sucked. It literally is everything I did not want to see in the season. Like, they took it and they just trashed it. So let's get into it. So obviously, as I just said, I was obsessed with the first season. And after I saw the first season, I watched it 3 times. And the third time, I was like, screw it, I'm reading the books. So I binged read / listened, because I have Audible, all of the books. And I was just so excited. I was like, I love this. I love the characters. I love the storyline. And I loved the books. I thought the books were insanely good. I think there was some parts or some books that were a little slower than others. But overall, like, they were so good. And then I was just excited. I was excited for the season. I was like, okay. They took the first book and they like amplified it. They made it 10 times better in the show. And I was like, this is what filmmaking is all about. Like, this is what filmmaking is all about. And then I was very disappointed with this set of characters, with the set of construction and structure, and the fact that they took 3 books and tried to fit it into one freaking season. It's a TV show, guys. You didn't have to do that. You literally could have just made it into one book, into a series, and each of them could have had their own season, and each of them could have been so good in their own right. And I get there was points, and I just okay, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna calm down. We're gonna talk about why I think this could have been so much better. But first, I'm going to talk about, okay, structure-wise. We're going to talk about first what they did well. What they did well in the second season wasn't a lot, but they did some things good. Then I'm going to talk about what I freaking hated about the second season. And then I'm going to talk about what I think they should have actually done with this season and how it could have been so good. But first, I'm going to go into a little bit why I was disappointed with the film. This is the no spoiler section of the video. So if you have not seen it and you want to watch it, please watch this section and then skip or stop watching once I get to the spoiler section. So again, this is spoiler free. I was disappointed, to say the least, in this show. I'm a very passionate person, and when I love something, I love it, and when I hate something, I hate it. And in this one, I wanted they had everything going for them, guys. I would have freaking been obsessed with this show if it would have been good, but it was trash. So, yeah. Let me go into why I think it was a little bit trash. Again, no spoilers. First off, it was very intense action-y, but it was really boring. Like, it's so weird how it was, like, things were happening out of the gate like this, but my brain was just like, either, I don't know if I was just overwhelmed with the amount that was going on, but I don't think so, because the first one had just as much action in it, but it was boring, because it was just like, I didn't have to do any of the work. The script, the dialogue was very like, I'm just going to tell you exactly what you need to know, and then we're going to move on. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to know here. And there was nothing that kept me on edge. There was nothing that was holding me, making me want to watch longer. It was just kind of like, I was just disappointed. I was disappointed literally every episode. There was good moments, don't get me wrong, but most of it, I was really disappointed. Okay, yeah, this was one of the things. I read the books, and my sister didn't, and we both loved the first season. And here's what I'm going to say. If you haven't read the books, It's going to be freaking confusing. You're going to go into this season going like, what? What is happening? And you're going to be confused probably the entire time and have to look stuff up afterwards. For me, reading the books, I knew a lot of what the symbolism was about. Like, I knew a lot of what they were doing and why they were doing things. But it was frustrating because they don't follow the book. And they literally take it and just, I like to say, they played like it was a deck of cards. They like took the book and they're like, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Now we're gonna put this scene. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. We'll throw in this scene. Let's throw in this scene. What about this scene? And it was just didn't make sense. Like then the characters were going from, I'm so angry at you to, I really miss him. And it's like, what? It like, I'm sorry. It's just horrible. I don't think it's worth watching. So if you don't want to watch it and you're like, well, that sucks, you can go to the spoiler section and I'll tell you all about why it sucked. But I do think if you love the books and you want to watch it, like, go watch it, make your own opinion about it, but I will probably never watch it again because I hated it. And I am one of those people that watched the first season 5 times. And even after I read the book, it was still so freaking good. And this season, yeah. I think the reason it did so bad was due to poor direction. I don't think the direction given to the characters was very good. I actually watched an interview of Alina and Kerrigan, and I don't know their actual names. I apologize. Ben Barnes. I know who Ben Barnes is because freaking Ben Barnes. But I'm sorry, Alina. I don't know your actual name, but they were doing an interview and they said something in it along the lines of, we started this season out knowing it was going to be different, and so they told us to kind of make our own TV show character versions of the book characters. So it wasn't the same. We could kind of take it in a different direction. Red flag. Can I just say, I'm sorry, I'm yelling at you guys. That was a red flag for me. That was a freaking red flag. Like, that's not what you need to do as a director. I'm so sorry. But if you have a book that is full of juicy details of what your character is like, you tell those people, okay, go to the book. What if we change the scenario, like we did? I know, whatever. But like, if we change the scenario, how would that character react in this scenario? And I think the reason it was just so it doesn't make sense is because they literally just and anyways, if you are not going to go to the spoiler section, go watch it, make your own opinions about it, but literally please come back here and tell me if you feel the same rage that I do because I am so mad. It could have been so good and it was just trash. It was just trash. Okay, I'm going to go into now the spoiler section. So, beware, if you don't want to see spoilers, stop watching now. If you don't care and you are angry that it sucks and you don't want to give the time of day to watch it because it absolutely sucks, so sorry, I'm very passionate. Keep on watching. Or if you've seen it already and you have as much rage as I do, or if you don't have as much rage and you think it was fantastic, I would love to, if you do think it's fantastic, I would love to hear why you think it's fantastic and what you loved about it. And if it was just like fangirl, like I love Ben Barnes, or if it was just like, I don't know why you would love it. But if you did, I would love to know why you loved it because I hated it. Okay. Okay, let's go into moments that did well. There was some moments that did well. Now, I'm going to say this. I think the cast did really well with the characters they were given and the structure they were given it in. The Six of Crows characters actually had a lot of strong points. I think there was a lot of good character development in theirs. Now, was there still really, really, really cheesy moments? Yes. But I think there was also some moments that were pretty good in there. I really like Jasper's character. I think his character had a really good character arc in the whole storyline. I think Wyland's character had a really good character arc in the storyline. I think they could have done a lot more. Okay, we'll get there. At the end, I'm going to literally talk about what I would have done if I was directing this and how it would have been so much better. But anyways, Wyland and Jasper weren't terrible. Their storyline was okay. I think Inej and Kaz had some good moments. I don't think their storyline was good in any sense. I think they had some good moments. I think any of the good moments they had, though, were literally taken directly out of the book. So, and also the frustrating part is like they have nowhere to go now. Like, I don't know where their relationship has to go because now they've like skipped to book 2 of Six of Crows. There's only 2, but they've skipped to book 2 and they've kind of just jumped over a lot of the things that happened in book 3 that really added to that tension of their relationship that I think they should have added in. There's a moment in the books where Kaz is on the edge of the boat when they're going back, or maybe it's at the end of book 1, and him and Inej have like this moment. And like it's almost to the point where Kaz is gonna like rely on her, and he doesn't, and Inej gets really mad at him because he doesn't. And then in the next book is when the whole thing happens that they just threw in the freaking movie, like them having the whole like touch thing. Like they didn't even really explain Kaz's like backstory. They didn't give us enough tension. It was like they just threw us in there and didn't give us any tension at all whatsoever. But anyways, that had some good moments, but I think they could have built on them so much better. Ben Barnes. I think Kiergan had a lot of good moments. Ben Barnes is Kiergan. I think Kiergan had a lot of good moments. I think they explored what they didn't have in the book, and I think that was really cool. And I definitely would have added that in the show as well if I was directing it. I totally would have thrown in what Kiergan was going through on his side. I love the connection him and Alina have in their minds. Like, I think that's exactly what I envisioned when I was reading the books. I thought that was so good. I also thought the moment where, again, spoiler, Bagra, when she sacrifices herself for Alina and literally dies and fighting Kiergan, I think that moment was so good. And the fact that Kiergan is just like sobbing because he didn't want to kill his mother, but the shadow monsters did it for him. Like, I think that element was really cool and I really like that. That's probably about all I liked in the whole movie, in the whole show. I think they casted people really well. I really think Tolia and Tamar were casted really well. I also think Nikolai was casted really well. I think the direction was just really bad, and they didn't give those characters very much room to grow, and they were just kind of like, we're the good guys. We're here. We're the good guys. There was no character development. Hardly at all with any of the characters. Now that we've talked about all the moments that were good, which I literally kind of didn't really give them a lot of love, but there were good moments. There were good moments, don't get me wrong. Most of the good moments, I will stand by this, most of the good moments that were in the show were from the book. Period, end of story. The extra stuff, absolute trash. Anyways, okay. Moments that fell flat. My favorite part, because literally the whole freaking show, okay? So let's talk about it overall. I think the whole storyline was sloppy. It was rushed. It was choppy. It was just not put together well. It was not thought through well. They tried to fit 3 freaking books into one TV show. Why? It's a show. You can literally extend it longer if they would have. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. You could have literally just extended it longer. I'm not going to go into there yet because I want that to be at the end where I literally talk about my vision of what it should have been. But anyways, the biggest issue for me, I think, was character development. There was none. I don't think Alina learned anything from the beginning to the end. I think she's the same character that she was at the very beginning of the show that she is at the end of the show. And I think that is a direction flaw. I think that is a writing flaw. I don't think that's a cast flaw. None of the things I'm going to say are to the cast. All of the things I'm going to say is to anyone that was a part of the writing room team, anyone that was an executive that decided to rush this project and put it out before it was ready, anyone that would like decided, okay, we're just going to do this and go on and it'll be fine. You guys are the ones I'm talking to. Okay, so let's go into the why was missing. The biggest issue was that the why was missing in a lot of the characters. Mal and Alina's character connection was nothing. Like, I'm so sorry. I watched the shows back to back. Let me just say this. I watched the whole freaking first season, like for the fifth or sixth time, and then went into watching season 2. And it was so evident at the very end of season 1, Mal and Alina's connection, the way they fought for each other, the way they were together. And then you get into the next season and it's just flat. It feels like the characters are just flat. Like, they love each other. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. That Alina's strong. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. You don't tell me that you're strong. You are strong. You don't tell me that you do this. You are this. Like, there was so much in this show that just said, I'm a strong woman, or I'm the sun summoner, or I'm doing this, or me and Mal are connected, or like it was like they were telling me all these things, but I could never feel it because there was no real connection in the show that proved that they still loved each other, that proved they still want to do this. Then when they had their disconnect moments, it didn't feel that bad because they had never had their connected moments to begin with. Now, I will hold my tongue on some of this. There were some moments where I was like, okay, they could have a connection, but I think it was just really poorly put together. I don't think they had time to really get them from that place. Like, yes, there was change in their personalities towards each other, but none of those times did I feel like it made sense for their personality to change. Like, for when Mal got frustrated with Alina after he literally told her to do it, granted, that does happen in the book, but in the book, you feel it. You feel that, like, Alina's kind of betrayed him a little bit, and you feel that, like, that disconnect. You feel the tension. There was no tension. I did not feel tension in this film, and that's why I didn't want to watch it anymore, because there was no tension. And when you don't have tension in a show, in a movie, in a script, there's nothing for me to, like, want to keep watching it. Like, if there's nothing going on, I mean, there was so much going on, but, like, there was no tension in any of the relationships. They weren't brave enough to go to the actual tension of these relationships. So it just made a lot of the characters feel flat. Now, I think there was some characters that had that, like Kaz and Inez. That's why that's why I like their characters, because Kaz and Inez, they really do have that tension already kind of built into the bones of who they are. But again, they didn't have enough, like, explanatory to tell us what the heck. Like, they just show Kaz as a child, which we don't really know is Kaz for a while, that on this pile of dead bodies, and you don't explain why that's really bad for him. They explain it later, but you don't feel it. I never felt it in this show. And to be able to feel it in a character, you have to be able to see yourself in that position of the character. And there was none of these characters, almost none of them. I think is there a moment in any of the characters? I think there was moments with some of the characters where I felt it a little, which is why I, as the beloved book reader who was like, please let there be something, I'm just going to hold on to what I can. But, like, it's just so frustrating. Okay, I'm sorry. I've talked about that for way too long. Let's talk about Genya. Freaking Genya. Again, no tension. They wouldn't let her be the bad guy. I think Genya should have been the bad guy at the beginning. I think she should have had a change of heart throughout the thing. I don't think she should have been this just, like, desperate person. Like, Genya was smart. She was cunning. She knew what she was doing. She would do the wrong things for herself so she would not be in pain. She did that for the wrong reasons, and I think they didn't let her be that in this next season. They said, no, Genya is one of the good guys. We have to make her the good guy. She has to be the one that fights for everyone to make them feel like, no. They tried to make Genya feel like she was like this weak, childlike thing that was being controlled by the Darkling. And yes, I just don't think that was what Genya was. I just don't think that was Genya's character. And I think Genya is smart and cunning and wise, and I think she would have figured it out. And I think Alina's conviction for her was something like Alina's, and I think that the way Alina, like, pointed at her in the book and was like, you are not this, she needed that in this show. Like, she needed someone to tell her that she was not this, and to have her battle with those feelings and then decide to go overboard and betray the Darkling. Like, the whole storyline of her storyline was flat and didn't feel like it had a character arc. Sorry. And I love Jenya so freaking much. I love her character development in the book. I think the book did so good at talking about Jenya. And I just was disappointed. And Alina was literally the biggest letdown. She had no character development at all. She was, again, Alina was the same person at the very beginning of the show that she was at the end. There was nothing that changed within her. And I think there should have been. There should have been a lot that changed within her, but they weren't willing to give her pain and have her deal with her pain. They weren't willing to give her the struggles of a normal human. And so because they weren't willing to do that, I couldn't connect with her. And I felt like Alina's character was flat throughout the entire thing. And it is not the fault of the actor. It is 100% the fault of the writing and the directing and probably most of the executive producers I can imagine on this show. There's so many more characters I can talk about, but I'm going to leave it at that because I could talk all day and I could make a whole video about all those characters, but I'm not going to do that. This is just about the gist of it, okay? The next reason. Let's talk about the script. So the script itself was freaking sloppy. Like, you literally get into the storyline and they tell you everything you need to know from the very first second you start, like, watching. Like, I felt like Alina and Mal's, like, escape from... First of all, can we talk about the very beginning? The very beginning, first episode, they're in Novia Zem. Somehow... the first army general that was in the first season is in Novia Zem. Why? I don't know. He sees Mal and he's like, traitor! What the freaking heck? No! Literally, if they would have just stuck with the book and made the Darkling come and get them like they did in the book, it would have been so much more cool. Ugh. Anyways. And then the fact that they just, like, end up on Lancelot's ship, like... No, like, and also the fact that they don't have this fight with the Darkling at the Sea Whip place. I'm sorry, if you haven't read the books, this is all stuff that happens in the books. Literally in the book, let me just explain to you the very beginning of book 2 in Shadow and Bone series. I don't remember what it's called. I think it's like Siege and Storm. But in the second book, it starts off, Alina and Mal are on the run, right? They're on the run. Lovey-dovey. It's super cute. You start off where you ended, and you feel the love. You feel the love. Then, the Darkling finds them because they've been using the crown jewels as their payment to get across places, and he just tracked their payment because, obviously. And I think they could have changed that. I think they could have made it somewhere else. But anyways, it's actually not the crown jewels. I think it was her gold hairpins that they were selling in the book. Anyways, it doesn't matter. The Darkling found them, okay? The Darkling found them, and then that's when they get introduced to the shadow monsters. And I think that would be a really cool thing that they should have done in this book. And also, there wasn't just 2 shadow monsters. He made an army of shadow monsters. So it was like he had insane power. And I think it was super cool because it felt like they couldn't win against them. I think that was cool. Mal and Lena get kidnapped within the first, like, few chapters of the book, and the Darkling takes them to go get the Sea Whip because he is the one seeking the extra power. When they get to the Sea Whip, that's when Nikolai is there with his roundy crew of people, and he ends up taking the Sea Whip and getting Alina and Mal off the ship. This is where Jenya betrays the Darkling in the original book. So Alina gets on the ship and Jenya is there, like in the first series. She basically tells Alina, I have to serve the Darkling. Like, I can't be on your side. I can't do this. I am indebted to him. And Alina's like, no, you're freaking not. And that's what puts it in her head that no, you're not. So I get that they did that and they just changed it, but that doesn't give Jenya any character growth. I think they needed to give Jenya character growth. And some might argue that she had character growth after she got back and she, like, had betrayed David had betrayed her and she had to get over that whole thing. I don't think that's character growth. I think that's trauma. I don't think she ever got over that in the show. I think they just put her through a lot of and said, get over it. I'm so sorry for my language. I apologize. I will bleep that out. So, overall, script-wise, I think the script was lacking. I felt, when I first watched the show, I felt like this entire script was made last minute, was rushed, was said, okay, you have a year. No, you have like 3 months to figure out the whole storyline of this entire season. And I think they didn't give themselves enough time. And I think even if they did, they tried to do way too much with this season. It did not need to fix all the problems yet. I know they had the issue of like, Alina, she needs to be our main character. She can't like lose her power and not end up being Sun Summoner. Like, she can't go off and live with Mal happily ever after. No, we need her to be the main character. I get that. But like, literally, you could have let her lose her power, let Mal come back to life, do everything the book had, and then later, somehow, she like falls in a pit of acid or to pull a Marvel stunt. Like, bring her back. You don't have to freaking change the entire storyline because you think you want this character to last on. Because you did that, this show will not last on, and I hope that it doesn't because you guys trashed it. I'm so sorry. I literally am just so passionate about this. I am so passionate about this. Let's compare. First season. Every single scene was thought through. Every single scene had a transition into the next. You can go back and watch that show and you will see that something that they say, there is a line that will take you from that scene to the next scene. That's how thought through this freaking movie was. This freaking show was. And they didn't do that in this season. It was sloppy. It was slow. It was unimpressive. I just didn't like it. I thought it was not cool. And I'm losing light, so I'm gonna skip on. Now for my favorite part. What they should have done with this freaking story. First off, they should have stuck with the book. This season should have been book 2 only. Like, I get that they needed to have a plot line for Nina and Matthias, and they needed to figure out how everything went. But here's what I would have done with the Six of Crows side of the story. So I would have, first off, put a storyline of who is Wyland, why do we care about Wyland, what is Wyland to this group. I would have also put a storyline into Nina. I think the way they included her into the group, which they did, they took her from not being in the group to putting her in the group, but it was like she was like running, or she was going to do something, and Nij was like sneaking after her, and then all of a sudden she's like, hey, do you guys want another person in your group? What? I'm sorry. They could have written that 10 times better, but they didn't. And it's okay. I'm just going to read what I wrote. Okay. So if they would have made this season just about the second book, this would have put the energy and writing into Mal's and Alina's relationship to actually give it a chance, to actually make me feel what they're feeling and go through the emotions that they're going through. I never once felt any of the characters' emotions, except for maybe a blip of Jesper when he was talking to his mom, and a blip of Ben Barnes, Kieran, when he killed his mom. Like, that's basically all the emotion I felt in the entirety of this show. If they would have just done just the second book, they wouldn't have had to worry about the whole fold, solving that. They could have actually built us a storyline that was sustainable, that was emotional, that helped me feel what the characters are feeling. Now, I get why they tried to combine book 2 and 3. Book 2 is slow. It just is. When you read it, you feel like, okay, we get it, move along. But I think this would have been so good for the TV show plot because you have the Six of Crows on the other end. So you have this story that you're actually getting to feel the emotions. Mal and Alina's relationship is actually getting to have that tension. Mal gets to have the fight groups that you kind of get alluded to in the very first season, but he never gets the, justification of doing them in this second season. Mal and Zoya? We never got to see Mal and Zoya together ever. I think that would have been so cool. I think also, I think they did Alina and the Darklings relationship really well. But again, I would have kept that in there. I would have really wanted to stick to those books. Now, on the flip side with Six of Crows, I wouldn't have gone to either of the Six of Crows books. I would have gone to the backstory of Wyland. I would have gone to the backstory of Nina. Maybe Wyland and Jasper's relationship, they talk about seeing each other or meeting each other. And it's like, what, when, why? You allude to something that we've never seen in the movie, in the show. So why would you allude to that? Okay, so if they want to allude to that, maybe we show that. Maybe we put that in there before we throw in like all these characters. Like I would have loved to see Wyland with Van Eck. I would have loved to see him with his dad and his relationship with his dad and him wanting to run away from the house. Like how cool would that have been? I would have loved to see Kaz and Inez also have that tension of their relationship like they had in the first book continue and even get even more tense and even more awkward and even more like, I don't know if this is gonna work out. You know, like that tension in the first series, in the first book, in the first show was something that they did really well. I would have also loved to see Nina actually do something fun that they didn't have in any of the books. I would have loved to see they needed a heartrender to do something completely different. And it wouldn't have been just because, like, they need to do that. I don't know. I just think there was so much potential. There's so much backstory in Six of Crows. So much backstory in Six of Crows. And they used that so well in the first season. And they could have done it even more in this next season and created a whole new storyline for them to kind of go through Ketterdam. I don't think they should have had the fourth or the second book of Six of Crows be the one that they took. Like, they didn't even take the first one. What were they thinking? I don't understand why they did that. I think the Six of Crows like storyline could have been with Lena and Mal, but maybe it was just in a different way. I don't think the whole sword thing was very good. I thought it was cheesy. I thought the whole I like to see that there's other saints, and I think that was a cool aspect of it, but I think it's just frustrating. I think it's just frustrating, and I don't think they did it well at all. And here's why I think they put the book 2 and 3. They really wanted to solve that question of, is Alina gonna have her powers or not? That's not something they needed to worry about this season. That was something they needed to wait to the next season, and they had literally so much time to actually get there, and even more time to process through that and to figure out what they were going to do with that. But I don't think they should have done what they did with this season. Now, what I would have done to solve the problem of having Alina, I think I might have actually said this before, but I would have literally solved the problem with a Marvel trick. Let the book be the book. Do the fold by the book, because the fold should be by the book, and I would have given Alina a new set of powers. I would have let Alina be a Grisha in a new way. So, like, you have the storyline of Alina being the one with the fire powers, but then she takes so many amplifiers that at the very end in the books, Alina actually, she takes the third amplifier, which is Mal, and she ends up like losing her power, and it goes to everyone else that's in the fold, and they all use her power and destroy the fold. Not even willingly, but they have it and they're destroying it all around them. And it's epic. It's so epic. And then she dies as a saint and they burn her, and it's so great. I would have loved for that to happen. And then I would have loved, you have the whole Jurda Parem thing that's coming on the next season. You could have given Alina powers back with Jurda Parem. Like, there's so much tension, there's so much character development that could have happened with Alina that they just were too scared to do. They wanted her to be the good guy, and she shouldn't just be a good guy. Like, no one relates to the good guy. No one relates to that. We want people with flaws. We want people with problems. We want people that are like us. We are flawed. We have problems. We want to see that in shows. And so the minute you stop giving tension is the minute we stop wanting to watch. And that's why I really, really, really do not recommend season 2 of Shadow and Bone. I highly recommend season 1. If you want to go back and watch season 1, please do. It's phenomenal. But season 2 is freaking trash. Not worth your time. That is my personal opinion again. So, like, if you don't have that same opinion, totally okay. I just am very passionate. So I will literally just be very passionate. I either hate something or I love something. And I loved this so much that when it was trash, it let me down so far that I was not ready for it. If you loved it, totally okay. Please tell me why you loved it. Like, show me the parts that I was like, oh yeah, that was a good part that I totally didn't mention. Like, please tell me what was so good that you loved about this show. And if you hated it like I hated it, please tell me why you hated it, because we can rant together. Anyways, that's Shadow and Bone season 2 in a nutshell. Pretty trashy. I would rate it literally a 0 out of 5 because I hated it. And I Okay, it probably wasn't that bad. It was probably like a 1.5, 2 out of 5. But still, it was trash. It was trash. It was trash. Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would love to make more of these if you guys are into this kind of thing. If not, let me know. But yeah, let's watch some more movies together. Let's watch some more shows together, because I have lots of passion and I'm very, very excited to share my opinion. Love you guys. See you next time.